Hello everybody. I'm gonna make one more little video on this Volkswagen Beetle. I got the battery out of it. You got to take the battery out of the thing in order to show you what I'm about to show you. The transmission cooler. I got this zip tied out of the way on the hood shock just so you can have access and see in here. So the battery would normally sit here. What I'm trying to show you is the transmission cooler. Then you have a hose coming in and a hose coming out, right? On the cooler. This is the cooler itself. I'm touching. And here from the water pipe, you got one hose coming in. And then you got another one coming in from the back side over there. So what I want to point out is this kink in this hose that I'm trying to record. I'm trying to find the best angle. Hold this. All right. So right there. See that freaking kink? There's another kink on the bottom of this on the underside of that, but not as bad. But that is a freaking L-shaped kink. This was a hose that was designed to be a straight hose with no curvature at all in it. And it's designed, and they forced it on there anyways. Wow. Just when you think you've seen it all. You know what the thing is that really bothers me about this? That the owner of the vehicle is telling me that this was done by a Volkswagen specialist. This was not done by an amateur at home. And it was taken to a Volkswagen specialist to have all the hoses replaced. The car had overheated. Apparently it had a bad hose, and they recommended they go ahead and replace some other hoses. So as you can see, they replaced radiator hose here. Everywhere where you see these kind of clamps, those are not the kind of clamps Volkswagen uses. Volkswagen will use either these special crimp type of clamps, or they'll use these that you grab with a set of pliers and squeeze. And so you can see the hoses with the AutoZone O'Reilly's American style kind of clamps everywhere where they kind of rigged stuff up. And then you can see what clamps are original from Audi that have never been replaced again. So all the Audi original stuff will have these clamps or clamps like these where you squeeze them together, like those two. Those are original. Those three there, never been replaced. That's never been disturbed. All this, and I mean, for $1,200 you can't put the right size clamp on there. Customer told me they were charged $1,200 on their credit card by a Volkswagen specialist to replace hoses on this. Should have put either this type of clamp or crimp fitted clamps. That's what a Volkswagen specialist would do. Put it back to factory original equipment. But let's get past the clamp deal, right? So they do a couple hoses on this thing. You can see the hoses that were done. They did the V-neck from there to there. But then when they got here, they got super sloppy, like above and beyond sloppy with that kink in it. Now you might say, Danny, what's the big deal? It's been driving fine. It hasn't been overheating. This whole time this customer's been driving this car, hasn't been overheating. Coolant pressure, I believe it's like 16 to 18 pounds on these things. And coolant, there's no way coolant pressure will flow at the right pressure with a kink like that. You'll get a spike in pressure over a kink like that. They did replace the coolant tank which for $1,200 on a new coolant tank, this lid is pretty hard to get on and off. But moving back on to this, what I'm pointing out to you guys is that the car won't overheat because it's just like they've blocked off the transmission cooler is what they've done by putting that kink there. So they're not allowing coolant flow into the transmission cooler. The regular coolant will still flow through here into your heater core and everything else, out the thermostat, which hides back behind the alternator there, you can see. So this does have an electric assist water pump that hides here because of all the different routing on the hoses. I mentioned that in another video. But this car was having transmission problems also. I just recently did a video on the transmission pan that we were replacing the filter and the gasket. It wasn't shifting right, and granted, the transmission had never been serviced. That was the original gasket and filter, and the filter was pretty dirty. The fluid was pretty bad. But the transmission was running hot. There was no way the transmission was running cool at the temperature it should run with that kink in the hose like that. That is the transmission cooler. Hello. It's anywhere from 75 to 150, depending if you want to get an OEM or if you want to get some eBay knockoff stuff. I've seen them on eBay, those transmission coolers, for about $40 if you want a made in China knockoff one. But that is the cooler for the transmission. These don't have a cooler that runs into the radiator. That is the cooler for the transmission. Like on an American car, they would have cooler lines running into the one of the side banks, one of the cores on of the radiator itself. This doesn't cool through on the radiator attached. It has this cooler attached to the transmission, and with that kink in there, it doesn't take a genius to see that it's like a bypass. It's like you're blocking off the coolant flow into the transmission cooler. There's no way coolant is flowing through this kink. That is a super aggressive kink, and it's just coolant's just going right back up. So there you go. Like, you're wondering why this customer is having transmission issues, and it's because it's running hot. And then people will say, oh, these Volkswagens are shit and the transmissions ain't no good, they always go out. Well, you got so-called Volkswagen specialists that do. This is just ratchet. This is just, you got to be savage to charge somebody $1,200 to do this type of work. This is ridiculous. There's no reason why they should have paid $1,200 for a couple hoses and a coolant tank. And then if you are going to have the audacity to charge them that, at least put the proper equipment. But now they not only charge them $1,200 to replace hoses, but they do that half-ass shit. They block off coolant flow to the transmission cooler, and then they end up costing the customer a new transmission because the transmission is running hot. It's not being cooled from the cooler. Ridiculous. People, this is what I'm telling you, like, people argue about, oh, don't take it to a shade tree, and I'll tell you all day, don't take your car to a shade tree mechanic, because there's a lot of liability on that on both of your parts. There's both on the shade tree and on y'all. Take it to somebody certified, but not just certified, somebody that you trust, somebody that you actually have a relationship with, that you've had other service done with, and that you've built rapport with. Because this is a certified Volkswagen specialist shop that did this. And they were thinking, well, nobody else wants to work on these. Nobody wants to touch them. We're going to take this to a Volkswagen specialist, and we're going to pay. And we're going to get it done right. Because I want it done right, right? And they end up with that from a specialist after they paid $1,200. This is the kind of stuff that just, like, irks me. So now I'm going to take this hose off. And I'm going to use it as a template. I'm going to go down to the auto parts store and get something that has that 90-degree bend in it. And about a 60-degree bend over here. Kind of like in an S shape. That will actually have coolant flow, good flow, into that cooler, into that transmission cooler. and actually help cool this transmission. Now we live in Florida, y'all. Again, we live in the sunshine state. Hot as balls out here. So this little Volkswagen Beetle already runs hot. It already runs hot. This is the kind of engine that normally runs hotter than most American engines. And then now this pansy ass Volkswagen specialist in Florida of all places. I mean, I get we live up north. Who cares about the transmission cooler, right? But here, this is like you're gonna kill this transmission for sure. For sure, you're gonna kill this customer's transmission. And then, like, if you don't have the adequate hose, you don't have the right hose, tell the customer, hey, I don't have the right hose. If it's a special order, it's a special order. But I got to get you the right hose. I can't send you out of here like this. That's what it comes down to, y'all. A lot of people just, worth ethic ain't what it used to be. Integrity, as far as doing people the way you want to be done, just isn't what it used to be. So the video is more to bring awareness on the kind of stuff you deal with, even taking it to the specialist. Finding a mechanic you trust is as important as having a pediatrician you trust for your children. You know, I can't be everybody's mechanic, but the few people that I am their mechanic, I value the trust that they put in me. I won't compromise that trust over a hose or any dollar amount on any service order that comes in here. Find somebody with the same ethic that you would want, the same integrity that you would want, and then don't put yourself through this. We're gonna take this hose off. We just finished the AC job on this. Had a few interruptions with some other stuff we had going on, but the receiver dryer is installed. The expansion valve back there is installed. The new compressor buried underneath the alternator there is installed. Everything is put back. Intake manifold had to be removed. It's all good to go, ready to go be vacuumed and recharged. And last thing I'm going to do before I have it vacuumed and recharged is address this hose. Ridiculous. Anyways, thanks for watching. God bless y'all. Have a good one.